Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jai Gaur Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So welcome to Kurukshetra.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. We are not going to fight. We have to watch the fight. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Kurukshetra. Yes. So we are here to actually learn Dharma, right? In this life of Kurukshetra. And this is a dream come true. Personally for me, having Prabhuji here, I've been hearing Prabhuji since, I don't know, 2008, 2009. And it was always, whenever I used to give series in Pune, in other places, I used to feel, can this happen? Can I witness it? Forget about organizing or being part of the organizing team, but can I even witness it? That was the dream. But the amazing part, Vaisheshika Prabhu says that anything you desire will come true in this material world. So when you desire good things, that's a good thing. Because when you desire bad things, even that comes true. But Prabhuji being here, I firstly again, you have his introduction, most of you know it already, I'm not going to say about that. But personally, I feel there are only a few very unique individuals in ISKCON, very unique for what they contribute, right? And one among such unique that there is nobody else like him, that's how I feel, is Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hari Hari Bol.
Only one Chaitanya Prabhu in ISKCON. Nobody else like him. I mean, even close to it in the way he explains and puts forward. What he's going to speak is he's going to cover many aspects in many angles. This one sentence has so many things to learn from. So I'm sure we are all hearing it now. Let's be very attentive about what we are going to do, and most importantly, hear it again. So that's what I do. When I hear it again, then oh my God, this is what he meant. This is what he said. This is what I should know. So it's very fortunate situation. Today we are starting 10 minutes late. Doesn't mean we'll start 10 minutes late tomorrow, right? Because I did not want an empty hall when Prabhuji enters here. That's the reason I said stop. So please come early. In fact, one other option is, if you don't morning course, some of Matajis do have, you can come here and chant in the morning. Let it be a congregation chanting time also. You just come here in the morning, chant few rounds together, and then attend the class, right? So first, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. Your participation is the greatest encouragement for doing such kind of activities. In a time and place where time is most essence in software companies, you are all here giving your time, especially in the morning time, right? Where everybody is rushing towards the work. So 9:30 dot, Prabhuji will stop, and there will be Q&A in between also. Or you can pick up your Q&A and put it, and you can give it to Prabhuji, where we can spend exclusive time on more Q&As. But 9:30 we stop. We will have breakfast here, and you can, if you are in a rush, you can pack and go, or you can have it here, whichever way it works. And I bought some buttermilk from pure basic cows today morning. So that's for all of you. You can nicely take blessings from Mother Cow. Hare Krishna. Let's welcome Prabhuji with 3 loud and enthusiastic. Just don't want to forget that. Thank you for all the devotees who organized the corporate sessions for Prabhuji. It's gone really out of your. So I just want to introduce a couple of them today because they are. So there is Anil Prabhu. He is the one who from transportation today. Today he is the one who is driving that, and his good wife Shalu Mataji. Yeah, she is the one who is for Wells Fargo. She is the one who is organizing, and also for Vodafone. Yeah, so and many others actually here who are organizing. And thank you, Survi Mataji. Thank you, Hare Krishna. So Hari Bol, thank you very much. Let's start. Hari.
Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dear Lord, please guide us all so that even through the complexity of many of your pastimes, we can be drawn to you with a heart filled with simplicity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm delighted to be here with all of you today. Hare Hare. So just will this be showing this also? Is it possible to?
Is this recording then?
No, are we doing live streaming also with this one?
Yeah.
Can it be positioned in such a way that can also be seen? Or that's difficult?
This is difficult.
In between,
He will do it. He'll take care of it.
It will be difficult for you to keep doing it. Maybe if you just keep it on the stand over there.
The sound is not connected to him.
Okay, that's it. That's it. So, Ilana Prabhu was saying that I am unique. Yes, I do so little and I have such a huge ego. I'm definitely unique. He was telling me just that he started in 2016 and built a whole community over here. I think in 2016 to 2024, I'm just doing the same thing again and again. Just going and traveling and giving some classes and causing inconvenience to everyone wherever I go. So, yesterday, I posted to do some changes yesterday. I told him I am very comfortable making others uncomfortable. So, I'm grateful to be here and in some ways, if we study human history, just like we said, there is mass negative karma and mass positive negative karma where some natural disasters happen. So there are also places where there seems to be like mass positive karma. So in the sense that if you look at history, there are certain times when a lot of scientists appear because they are at a particular place at a particular time in history or geography. Say at the time of Newton, there are a lot of scientists in Europe, in UK, that part of the world. There are a particular time when lots of authors seem to come at a particular place. There are a particular time when a lot of thinkers and patriotic people, say there's a Bengal Renaissance in India. So, number of very brilliant people seem to come at a particular time at a particular place. So, even spiritual movements when they grow, it is that a number of remarkable people. So, the Srila Prabhupada, he went to America, what seemed to be the least probable place, the Lower East Side. And there, yes, many of the people were drug addicts and they were into drugs. They're not really addicts, they became addicts later. They were into drugs as a means for spiritual growth. But there were a number of people who seemed to be very spiritually inclined. And then they met Prabhupada and they became extremely dedicated. It is Prabhupada's glory, of course, but it is also the glory of those who dedicated themselves to Srila Prabhupada. So a number of people came together at particular times. So I see, am I audible clearly? Or
Yes.
So I see in the history of our movement also, it seems that between 1995 to around 2010 or so, there were some places, even 2012, 2015 I would say, some places where there seem to be a lot of people, young, educated, who were there at the places where we were doing preaching, and many of them became brahmacharis. And before that, we were not so many people who became brahmacharis. After that also, it's tapered down a little bit. It's there, but not that much. So it is remarkable. I feel now, especially probably after 2017, 2018, 2020, it seems now there are certain places where there are lots of dedicated Grahastha devotees who are coming, and it's here, one place. I was in Gurgaon recently. There also, it seems remarkable preaching is happening. In Bangalore, in Whitefield also. So it seems maybe by some past karma, it seems engineer brahmacharis became a lot of some souls who had some karma became engineers and they became brahmacharis. Now it seems some souls who had some spiritual karma became software engineers and came to Gachibowli. So we will have probably 100 crore temples where we don't have so many devotees coming for a morning class. So it's laudable what you're doing, and not just the fact that you're coming here for a morning class, but also the fact that you did so many Rath Yatras. So I think so the fact that you could do so many Rath Yatras in so many different localities, that itself is remarkable. And I think you were flying below the radar for a long time. Now your days of flying below the radar are slowly ending. It's a remarkable community that all of you have over here, and I look forward to coming here. So when I came here itself, I saw so many of you already here. That itself is one sign of extraordinary interest or dedication or discipline, whatever you want to say. Many times the speaker comes in and the audience trickles in, and it's like a mutual negative feedback loop. That the audience knows the speaker is going to come late, the speaker knows the audience is going to come late. No, I had gone to one temple in Delhi. This was actually I had four classes once in Delhi, and so I had at East of Kailash I had a class, and then I met His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj was there at that time. I just wanted to offer my courtesy, but Maharaj started talking, asking me what I was doing. So I spent almost 1.5 hours talking with him, and then I had the next program in another place. So they said it takes at least 1.5 hours to get to that place. And I was very anxious that we would be late for the program. So I told the person, you can start the kirtan, you can do the shloka recitation also. And as we were reaching, we were getting delayed. And I was anxious. But the host was remarkably unanxious. Then finally, I reached about half an hour late, and I just went to the temple hall. There's practically no one there. And I said, "What happened?" He said, "I know preachers come late, so I told him." So the program, and he told me it was 5 o'clock. The program was actually at 6 o'clock. So we'll try to start on time from tomorrow onwards. So those 18 days is the topic we are going to discuss, and the Mahabharat is one of the most dramatic epics in our tradition, and within the epic, the whole storyline is building towards these climactic days. And once in IIT Kharagpur, we had a youth retreat on Pandav Nirjala Ekadashi. And there, it was the first time all those young people were doing a Nirjala Ekadashi. So I had sat there and for almost 11-12 hours continuously read a Mahabharat Katha. So it was.
I'm from Kharagpur only.
Oh, is it?
I'm basically from Kharagpur. Born and brought, I came to Hyderabad.
Oh, okay.
I'm from Kharagpur.
Wonderful.
Very good.
Yeah, so this was in the youth center. So just recently one devotee met me, and he was in IIT Kharagpur in Silicon Valley. He said that, I long for those classes said, why? He says, those classes of yours were so uncomplicated. So mostly I was telling the story and drawing some simple lessons from it. He said, now all your classes are so complicated. So we'll try to keep the blend of complicated and uncomplicated now. So the Mahabharata itself can be taken from multiple frameworks. One is we can take the framework of life lessons, where what the characters have done and the choices that they have made, and we take some lessons from that. And that's the perspective through which often we study the Mahabharata or the Bhagavatam also. Now, other perspective is, at least within the devotee circles, we can study it is from the perspective of resolving controversies. That there are many actions that happen in the Mahabharata which seem to be quite bewildering. So we will try, that is one perspective where we focus on resolving controversies. And the third is, of course, that we study this primarily for relishing how Krishna protects his devotees and how his devotees act. So we will be focusing as per the instruction of the Prabhuji. He didn't give me an instruction. He gave me a dictation. It is just a request from his side. So he said that we can focus more on the controversial aspects and we can try to resolve the controversies. So we'll also discuss the other aspect of the devotional rasa. But if we study the Mahabharata, we'll study it from the perspective of life lessons, where we see what is it that we can learn from the actions of various characters. Second is, we can look at the controversies and try to resolve the controversies. And the third is, we can look at rasa, bhakti rasa, that how rasa in general, but bhakti rasa in particular, how these pastimes evoke divine emotions within us. So our focus will be on the controversies aspect, but we will do the other two things also. Now, when we talk about the controversies themselves, so I find that they arise from three different sources. One is the culture. The culture at that time was so different. The culture that is now is very different. And in general, when people from one culture observe another culture, now across time also culture changes. I was in Australia and there was a Sunday feast program in one center on top of a hill, New Govardhan they call it, where they have a lot of Western people coming. So I was waiting to start the Sunday class, and then we had the Aarti, and then after the Charan was going on. So one Australian lady, she came and said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes."
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So she asked me, okay, so the Mangalacharan was going on and everybody was doing Dandavat Pramana. So she said that when the conch is blown, why do you people kiss the floor? When the conch is blown, why do you people kiss the floor? Dandavat. So sometimes the culture itself is so different that some things are not understandable. The second is that this is much more related with us, you could say. Then we could have complexity, that the original situations themselves are complex. And sometimes what is the right thing to do, whether a particular action was right or not, it's very difficult to decide. So we will say if it's a cultural thing, then we will try to understand the difference in culture and what was the reasoning of people at that time. Sometimes its complexity means that when we do an action, there are many factors to consider, and which particular course of action will work out right and which will work out wrong, that only time tells. So after the event happens, then we come to know, okay, this was not a good choice. So it was not a wrong choice, but it's just that the finiteness of the human condition means that sometimes we make choices that turn out to be wrong. So then the third is, of course, concoction. Concoction means these epics have been retold many times. So while retelling, different retellers have their own interests or agendas, and then there could be subtle or huge shifts in the way the stories are told, so that particular purposes of that particular author could be fulfilled. So there is something called the Jain Ramayana, and it has the same broad storyline, but with one big difference. When Lord Ram is in the forest, throughout he's meeting Jain sadhus, and he's listening from them and learning from them. And then finally, when Sita enters into the earth, Lord Ram becomes enlightened and becomes a Jain. So this is clearly an agenda-driven retelling, where the focus is on taking a popular story and reimagining it in a way that supports one's own philosophy, one's own culture. So there are many concoctions like that. So concoctions happen throughout history, we could say. Complexity is in the original situation. So we'll look at some controversies and we'll try to understand what has happened and why certain issues became controversial. So while we are going to focus on the 18 days of the war, we are also going to take some backflashes, as they say, to look at the characters in their earlier life and to see how their decisions brought them to the particular situations that they faced. Is this better? So when I'm breathing, it seems to little cracking is coming. Can you hear me behind now?
Yeah.
I think now that breathing sound will not come. Were you hearing the cracking sound slightly? Yes. Little bit.
No.
Okay. So those of you who can't hear me, please tell me. Unless you don't want to hear me. So now, in the Mahabharat, if we consider the way I am planning to take, let's see whether the plan works like that or not. Recently, one friend of mine, he is trying to do a lot of Western outreach, so he met his Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, and he gave a elaborate plan of how he strategically planned to do Western outreach. He said, Maharaj, I want your blessings. And Maharaj said, I have no doubt that you will be successful. And I have no doubt that your plan will be unsuccessful. We have our plans and Krishna has his plans. Now, of course, making a plan shows Krishna that we are serious about something. So we certainly should make plans, but at the same time, we can't be too attached to the plans. So the way I'm planning to discuss it, the way, let's see how it goes, is that each day I want to focus on one character, and we will go over the 18 days of history. So in the 18 days of the war, the first few days, I'll just go over a quick recap of what happened. But today I'm planning to focus on mainly the 9th and 10th days, the 8, 9, 10 days especially, where we'll focus on the character of Bhishma. And we'll discuss about what he did and why he did. Then after that, the 11, 12, 13 and 14, here we'll focus on Abhimanyu and Arjuna. So here we'll also talk about other things. There's Krishna's protection and other things. But then on the 15th day, we'll focus on Drona. Now, while focusing on Drona, on the 15th day, on our third day, in the 15th day of the war, yeah. So we'll be focusing on Drona, and then we'll talk about multiple aspects of the actions of Drona at various times. Then, on the 16th and 17th day, we'll focus on Charan. We'll try to learn about him. He's probably one of the most controversial characters, but we'll discuss about that quite a bit. Then, on the 18th day, I'll focus on Duryodhana. And then we have the 18th night, where we'll focus on Ashwatthama.
Right.
So, so in this way, we will try to cover those 18 days in these 6 days. Now, before we go into Bhishma and the specifics of how we are going to discuss, this is session 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So today we may not be able to cover Bhishma because I also want to give some background to what happened and how the war took place. But I will try to keep the background not too much. Is it 8:45 already?
8:38.
8:30. Okay.
We can go 15 minutes more.
Okay. I think when he said we'll finish at 9:30 sharp, that was the instruction for me also. Let's see. So, the Kurukshetra war, at that time, war in many ways was like sports. We say it's like a, why is it like a meta, why are we comparing it to sports? Sometimes they say cricket is like a war without bullets, especially in a match between India and Pakistan, something like that. But war was like sports in the sense that there was a fixed venue and a fixed time. And there were also some fixed rules. So, just like a cricket match happens, it will be at a particular place, it will start at a particular time, end at a particular time. And then there are certain rules to be followed. Now, of course, in the real world, things not always stay like that. So, the fact that the war happened at Kurukshetra was not just by chance that the attacking army was there and the defending army was here and both of them met at that particular place. It is that it was a plan. So, the idea was, while the war was there, the war was not meant to target civilians. That civilians should not be punished during the war. And that's why it was at a particular place. And then the rules were that, one of the rules was it start in the morning and finish at night, by evening. And then it was, in one sense, when you say sports, another understanding was, it was meant to be a test of strength and a test of skills. Now, you could say, skills can be both particular physical skills could be there. Skills could be in terms of abilities. It could also be in terms of, you could say, it's, what is the word for it? Tricks, not exactly tricks, like smarts, tactics or smarts, you can say, like, tactics is, say, like if somebody is a spin bowler, some strategies, tactics. So it was basically the idea that if somebody is a batsman and somebody is a bowler, then your batsman is weak on the outside the off stump. So then what happens is that the bowlers will strategically attack that part only. So like that, it is a test basically. It is that I will try to get the better of you through a fair fight. Now, sometimes what is like a trick and what is cheating, that lines get blurred, and we'll discuss about that as we move forward. But when this war was about to happen, so before that, there were multiple rounds of negotiations, but none of them worked. And we'll talk about these negotiations later when Krishna's role will come more prominently, especially when I talk about Karna. But finally, the war became inevitable. And when the war was about to begin, it was decided that Bhishma will be the commander of the Kaurava side. He was the senior most warrior. And well, Drona was also senior, and there are a few other senior people also, but Bhishma was widely respected. See, Drona himself did not have that much experience of actual war. He was, after all, a Brahmana who had taken on the role of training as a Kshatriya. He was excellent, he was extraordinarily skilled himself, but he had not actually fought in war so much. Bhishma had fought many wars, and Bhishma became the commander. Now, interestingly, on the opposite side, they decided to have somebody who was relatively not that well known as the commander. Who was the Pandavas' commander? Drishtadyumna. So now the reason for this was twofold. One was, no doubt, Arjuna was by far the greatest archer. But Arjuna, Yudhishthira decided especially that, and Krishna also had the same opinion, that they wanted let Arjuna be free to just fight the war. That he shouldn't have to worry about thinking of the big strategies. Like sometimes somebody is a champion batsman, and he's such a good batsman, they make him into a captain. But then the captaincy affects his batting. So some people, so they said that Arjuna not be burdened by the bigger strategy. And similarly, Bhima was like that. Bhima was, of course, is known to be a little hot-headed. So he was not the right person for the commander, although he was a person who could command and create fear in other people's minds. Now, Drishtadyumna was also made the commander because it was also a game. It's a mental match. And Drishtadyumna had been born to kill Drona. So, till the last moment, there was, from the Kauravas side, at least Duryodhana thought that the Pandavas may not actually fight. Because he knew how much Yudhishthira and the Pandavas respected Bhishma and Drona. And when he rejected the peace proposal, on one side was his confidence, overconfidence, that he had superior forces and he would win. But on the other side, he thought that the Pandavas would chicken out. That they would not have the, not out of cowardice, but they would just not have that sentiment to fight against Bhishma and Drona. So, by appointing Drishtadyumna as the commander, the Pandavas sent a message that this war is for real. The person who is born to kill Drona, we are putting him as the commander. Of course, Arjuna did have second thoughts, and that's how the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Now, during the course of the war, the war has its ups and downs. Just like if there's a test match. As far as I have known, there is no other sports where the match goes on for 5 days. Of course, there is chess. Sometimes chess matches used to go on for days and weeks together in the past. But now they have time limits on it. So just like a test match, one session they go in one side, and another session they go for the other side. So the first day was very bad for the Pandavas. And Bhishma devastated the Pandava army. And somehow, Arjuna, although he had said repeatedly that I will fight against Bhishma, but he just didn't have the heart to fight. And see, just like if there's a cricket match, I use a lot of cricket metaphors over here. So sometimes before a match, there are match-offs. Okay, this is the top spin bowler, this is the top batsman. So how the two of them will leave each other? This is the fast bowler and this is the batsman. So there are match-offs. So like that, there are already match-offs which were there. Like Karna was not there in the beginning, and we'll talk about Karna later. So the big match-off was between Arjuna and Bhishma. And the second was between Duryodhana and Bhima. So like that, there were match-offs. But the defining confrontation would be between Arjuna and Krishna. And Arjuna just could not bring himself to fight. Although Krishna had spoken the Bhagavad Gita to him, although he himself had spoken that I will fight, It just could not bring himself. And Bhishma seemed to be fighting furiously. So, on one side, the first day's reversal was so bad that Yudhishthir had second thoughts. Maybe I should not have fought at all. Maybe this war itself was a bad idea. And at that time, Krishna had to console him. This was just a bad day. The war was not a bad idea. That you didn't choose the war. You had to remind him. See, this is one characteristic. Sometimes when we think about faith, we often associate it with certainty. That if I have faith, then I will be certain this is the right thing to do. Well, there is truth to that, but faith also can be accompanied by uncertainty. Why is that? Certainty means that no, this is what, that if I am serving Krishna, Krishna will protect me. But at the same time, the world is so complicated, and especially when some hard decision has to be done. It's going opposite. How long is my wire likely to work?
No. It's not.
Okay, try it. Try it. I have got second adapter. Second adapter works better actually. Yeah, try that. No, you keep going. It has been going repeatedly. So I think that one is steadier. I keep that as a backup, but sometimes it just interrupts. Not keep that. So especially when there is a confrontation to be had, those who are bad people, those who don't really care for other people's emotions, they will get into the fight. But those who are a little more sensitive, those who are a little more noble, sometimes there's no option but to fight. But still, it would be much rather that we don't fight. So that's why, when we are doing some faithful service, we may understand that I have to do this. So for the Pandavas, certainty was they had to fight. It became clear after Duryodhana tried to arrest Krishna that he had no interest in any kind of peaceful compromise, peaceful solution. So they had to fight. But still there was uncertainty. They just didn't. They didn't want to fight because these were people they loved, they respected, and even if they didn't really love and respect Duryodhana, still he was a part of the same family, extended family. He had done terrible things to them, but still. So the thing was that Arjuna was half-hearted, and Yudhishthira also would have second thoughts. Should I be fighting? And these having second thoughts of fighting actually are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign of their humanity. That in life, sometimes even the best of people have to just do something which is bad because there are no good choices over there. See, one way this world is dukkhalaya. There are many ways in this world is dukkhalaya. But one way it is that sometimes it leaves us with no good choices. And whichever choice we make is a bad choice. In the sense that it is going to cause distress. Distress to us, distress to others. So Krishna has to console Yudhishthira. The second day is relatively better. The Pandavas fight. When Bhima sees that Arjuna is not fighting, Bhima starts fighting. And Bhima fights very fiercely. And the Pandavas get the upper hand on the second day. Third day is more of a even, not such a big victory for either side. The fourth day, Bhima just goes berserk. And he destroys an entire elephant division of the Kauravas. And then Duryodhana comes to fight with Bhima, and Bhima just batters Duryodhana. And then others come to rescue Bhima, rescue Duryodhana, and Bhima goes there. And then Ghatotkacha has come to assist Bhima. And then Duryodhana and Ghatotkacha start fighting. And to Duryodhana's utter humiliation, not only is defeated by Bhima, he is defeated even by Bhima's son. And that is the night when Duryodhana has some second thoughts. And then that is one time when Duryodhana, we will talk about this incident later. And this Duryodhana asks, he says, how is it that my forces are superior, my generals are more experienced? How is it that I am losing? And Bhishma says, O king, O prince, I have cried myself hoarse, telling you that there was not, there is not, and there will never be any army that can be victorious if Krishna is on the opposite side. Duryodhana has been a bit humbled. So for the first time, he asked, who really is Krishna? So who is Krishna? Now he knows Krishna to be a strategist. He knows Krishna to be a great warrior. But he has never really accepted Krishna to be God. So then Bhishma has been waiting for this opportunity. And this is one place where Bhishma profusely speaks Krishna's glories. This is one of the few places in the Mahabharata wherein the Vrindavan pastimes are described. And there is a Harivamsha, which is a later section where the Mahabharata has, it's like an appendix to the Mahabharata where the Krishna Lila is more described. But here, Duryodhana sits and hears. And when Krishna's glories are completed, Duryodhana is very silent and thoughtful. And that night when he goes back to his tent, he's thinking, if Krishna is really God, then why would God be against me? I'm not such a bad person. So, what have I done to offend God? Now, he remembers that he tried to arrest Krishna. But the nature of the mind is that it tries to put off the memories of how we did something bad. So there is but anyway, if Krishna is God, maybe I should offer some respects to him. So he is about to lie in bed. He turns and bows down in the direction of Krishna's tent and sleeps. And after a long, long time, that one night he has a very peaceful sleep. But the next morning he wakes up, and for some people, words of wisdom, they are like light. It means they get illuminated. They start seeing this is darkness, this is a dangerous path, this is a safe path, this is a good path. For other people, words of wisdom are like lightning. Lightning means what happens? This is temporary illumination, and after that, back to the same old ways. So Duryodhana goes back to fighting again. So as soon as he meets Bhishma, he says, so what is your strategy to destroy the Pandavas today? And Bhishma shakes his head in sadness. The previous night he thought that he had been getting somewhere with Duryodhana, but he realizes that Duryodhana is too attached. So then the war goes on. Again on the 8th day, Duryodhana faces multiple reversals. On that day again, Bhima goes wild and kills 8 of his brothers. And that night he is so frustrated that he practically yells at Bhishma. He knows that he needs Bhishma, and Bhishma is his grandfather and respects him. But he says, how is it possible that when you are my commander, my army is facing reversals? So I beg you, please don't watch on as our army is destroyed. Then finally he almost glares at Bhishma. He is after all a politician. And one ability of a politician is that they can put on various acts. And as politicians, they give their word before the elections. And after the election, they find that is all that they give. We will do this, we'll do that, nothing gets done. So he is very good at triggering emotions. We know in the Bhagavad Gita also, when he's talking with Drona, he says, Tava Shishya Dhimata. It is your disciple who is fighting, who is formed the army on the opposite side. So he wants to trigger Drona. So like that, he wants to trigger Bhishma. He says, if out of your affection for the Pandavas, you are not ready to fight wholeheartedly, then kindly step down and let Karna become the commander. He has promised me that he will destroy the entire Pandava army in no time and he will kill the Pandavas. So Bhishma just cannot tolerate this. And Bhishma says, "Oh Prince, you are always ungrateful, even for those who are working only for your cause." He says, "My body is bloodied with wounds incurred while fighting for you. What more do you think that son of a Sutta will be able to do than what I am doing? Nonetheless, because you have goaded me, I promise I will kill the Pandavas tomorrow with these 5 arrows." And he sits down in meditation and he takes 5 arrows, and he has been a celibate throughout his life. He has mystic powers and he evokes those mystic powers and invests them in those 5 arrows. And now Duryodhana is delighted. See, generally when we make somebody angry, our purpose is that person should get angry with someone else, not with us. So he always had to negotiate that. He didn't want that Bhishma becomes so angry with me that stop fighting for me. So he said, "My plan is working." And he said, "Okay." He said, "Give those arrows to me. I'll keep them safely and I will give them to you tomorrow morning." Now his plan was working, but someone else's plan was also working. Whose was that? So now Duryodhana had planned to have this meeting very privately. Because for one thing, he was also conscious of situations. So when he was going to burst out, speak strongly to Bhishma, he also didn't want Bhishma to lose face. So he had sent all the servants and attendants away. And he had kept this conversation top secret. And he had kept the possession of the arrows also as top secret. But that night, when he was about to lie down to take rest, suddenly his attendant came and told him, "Arjuna is here." So he says, "Oh Arjuna, welcome. What can I do for you?" He says, "If you want the kingdom, I will give the kingdom right now to you." Now he was being facetious. He knew that Arjuna would never ask for the kingdom. So it is a matter of Kshatriya honor. Arjuna said that I do not want the kingdom. The time for giving the kingdom had come when Krishna had come as a peaceman envoy. But there is something I want. So long ago, in the fight with the Gandharvas, you had promised to give me something. So this was when the Pandavas were in the forest. At that time, the Gandharvas had arrested and tied up Duryodhana. And he had gone there to humiliate the Pandavas by showing off his wealth. But he had been humiliated and the Pandavas had released him. So he had, actually at that time Bhima had not been ready. He said, when he came to know that Duryodhana had been arrested, he said, "At last the gods seem to be working for us instead of against us." Because so many bad things had happened to them. So now Yudhishthira also had his way. See, all of these are very intelligent people and they know how to get things done. So now he knew Bhima was so angry that he could not tell, "Oh, it is the right thing to do, so you should do it." He did not listen. So Yudhishthira told Bhima that your arch rival depends on your mercy for being released from captivity. What can give you more joy than having your enemy at your mercy? Do you want to lose this opportunity? He was like, "No, of course not." So, although Bhima and Arjuna both had fought to get Duryodhana released, Duryodhana could not think of even expressing gratitude to Bhima. He was his arch rival. That's why he said, "Arjuna, you had done me a favor. I want to grant you a boon." So Arjuna had said, "I don't need anything right now. In future, if I need, I'll ask." So Krishna had told Arjuna, "Now is the time." So Arjuna had come. And then he said, "Yes, yes, I need something from you. So Duryodhana said, what? He said, I need those 5 arrows. Duryodhana was shocked. Still, he had a sense of honor. And he said, okay, he gave those 5 arrows. By the way, how did you come to know about the arrows? And Arjuna almost smiled mischievously. Krishna told me. And walked away. And Duryodhana bang, this is that Krishna. How did he know? So, he somehow, we'll talk about Duryodhana's position later. See, he never really accepted Krishna as God. Now, Krishna must have had some secret spy somewhere over here when we were having those conversations. That's how we came to know. And the next morning, Bhishma was there. Now, when Bhishma, see, this pastime was going on, so what happened is that even when Bhishma took the vow, I will kill the Pandavas, he had full confidence that Krishna would not allow the Pandavas to be killed. So he was eager to see what Krishna is going to do. So there are different ways in which the dynamic of a devotee and Krishna's relationship works out. So sometimes a devotee deliberately does a provocative thing to get Krishna. Krishna, come and protect me. Krishna, come and help me now. So Bhishma had this, we'll talk about the Virya Rasa as we move forward. But so Bhishma told Duryodhana, so can I have my arrows? And Duryodhana was so shamefaced. He said, actually, Arjuna took those arrows. And Bhishma couldn't contain his joy from inside. And Duryodhana said, anyway, he says, take 5 other arrows and invest them with power. And Bhishma said, oh, my dear child, it's not so easy. All my life's austerity, I had invested in this. But nonetheless, I promise you one thing. Today, I will kill Arjuna. Unless Krishna raises a weapon to stop and protect him. So Duryodhana felt delighted. Now he was still a little apprehensive. Would Krishna really pick up a weapon? If he picks up a weapon, he would be disgraced. And then Bhishma and Arjuna started fighting. Now Yudhishthira also knew on this day that the whole battle, the fate of the battle would depend on this particular encounter. And Bhishma was fighting out of devotional anticipation. Yes, how will Krishna protect Arjuna? And that devotional anticipation was energizing Bhishma. Arjuna, on the other hand, was fighting or not fighting wholeheartedly because of familial affection. This is my grandfather, how can I fight against him? See, Arjuna had defeated Bhishma earlier at Virat. But at that time, Arjuna had no intention to kill anyone. It was just to demonstrate their power and teach them a lesson and thereby hope that the war would not happen, the bigger war. Kauravas would settle peacefully. But here, this was a war in which one of them was going to die. One side was not going to return alive. So even Arjuna at his best would have found it difficult to overcome Bhishma. And Bhishma was that powerful. And Arjuna, when he was not fighting wholeheartedly, and Bhishma was fighting wholeheartedly, it was devastating for the Pandavas. See, normally warriors are not meant to use celestial weapons against ordinary soldiers. It is like there is a war going on now. There is Israel and Hamas. There is a war going on. The temporary ceasefire is there. There is Russia-Ukraine war is going on. Now, whatever be the particular political motivations, but at least some level of sense has prevailed that nobody has used nuclear weapons till now. And of course, if one side uses, the other side is also used. So celestial weapons were something like the nuclear option. So it is that when the opposite side has celestial weapons, when one side uses a celestial weapon, then the other side can use a celestial weapon. But if one side knows that the other side does not have a celestial weapon, then they're not meant to use celestial weapons. So now when a celestial weapon is released, it is targeted toward a particular warrior, but the celestial weapons often expand and then influences that they can destroy the surrounding soldiers and surrounding army also. So Bhishma and Drona, Arjuna both were using celestial weapons, but because Arjuna was fighting half-heartedly, he was getting wounded and the Pandava army was also getting destroyed. At that time, Krishna became pensive. He recognized that the way Bhishma was fighting, not only would Arjuna be killed soon, even the Pandava army could be destroyed. And then, suddenly, Krishna was there in front of Arjuna. At one moment, Arjuna was fighting, and the next moment, Krishna disappeared. Arjuna looked and saw what happened. Says Krishna had jumped off the chariot, and he looked around, and he saw Arjuna saw that Krishna had run towards the wheel and picked up a wheel. And now, why did Krishna pick up a wheel of all things? Now, Krishna felt that I have to take things in my own hands. I have to protect Arjuna. And then he charged, picked up the wheel and started charging towards Bhishma. So, the wheel possibly reminded him of his Sudarshan Chakra. Now, why did he not call it Sudarshan Chakra? He was filled with so much anxiety that some acharyas say Krishna forgot to call it Sudarshan Chakra. Others say that actually Sudarshan Chakra was known to be a weapon. An ordinary wheel is not really a weapon. So he was on the border of right or wrong. But at that point, Krishna just jumped, and whether Krishna thought all these things, many of the thoughts that the acharyas have, they are whether Krishna had that thought or Krishna probably had that thought. We don't know. But the point was, Krishna just jumped, picked up the chariot. And now, if you see when Krishna killed Shishupal in the Rajasuya, he was just sitting at one place and discharged Sudarshan. But here, Krishna started running toward Bhishma. And as he was running toward Bhishma, he started yelling. He said, "You are the cause of this entire war." He said, when a king is foolish, it is the responsibility of the minister to be wise and to make the king see sense. You did not stop Dhritarashtra, and that's why this war is occurring. And it is your failure that has caused this war, and therefore you deserve to die. When Bhishma saw Krishna charging towards him, Bhishma put down his sword and he said, "O Keshava, to die at your hand is the perfection of life." He said, "I tried my best to persuade Dhritarashtra, but he didn't listen to me." Now, when Krishna picked up a bow and started charging, everybody in the battle just stopped fighting. It's like, say there are in a boxing tournament where there are multiple rings and multiple people are fighting boxing matches. But one match becomes so stunning that all the other boxers stop fighting and start watching this match. So it became like that. Everybody was watching. And Krishna was charging towards Bhishma. And as Krishna was charging, Bhishma was just waiting. Now Krishna could have discharged his chakra from there itself. But Krishna was so anxious for Arjuna's safety that he didn't want to miss the target. Sometimes you want to shoot a bullet from a distance and you come point blank and shoot. So like that, Krishna wanted to come close to Arjuna, to Bhishma, and shoot from there. And then Arjuna saw and he realized what has happened. He said, "Oh Krishna, please don't fight. I promise I will kill Bhishma." But Krishna was so completely consumed with concern for Arjuna and anger toward Bhishma that he just didn't hear a word of Arjuna. Now Arjuna leapt off the chariot and started running after Krishna. Now normally arrow fights happen, bow fights happen some distance between the two warriors. So Krishna was running and Arjuna was running. And Arjuna realized that I'll just not be able to reach Krishna in time. So Arjuna took a long leap and just landed near Krishna and he caught Krishna by the thigh. And Krishna's force in running was so great that Krishna kept dragging Arjuna and he didn't even realize Arjuna was there. And then finally Arjuna raised his huge Kshatriya legs and banged them on the ground. And he created a hole over there and his legs got stuck in the hole. And then with his legs stuck and he holding on to Krishna's thigh, then Krishna stopped moving. And Krishna looked at his horse and Arjuna Then Arjuna told Krishna, he said, "Oh Krishna, I promise you, please don't break your word. I will kill Bhishma tomorrow." And at that time, Krishna calmed down. And Krishna and Arjuna, they turned back and walking away. Now by this time, the sun was nearly setting. So everybody had stopped fighting and everybody was taking in what had happened. And nobody had the heart to resume the fight. So then Bhishma signaled the end of the day's hostilities. Now, this was a dramatic moment. And at one level, this illustrates the complexity of what is going on in the Mahabharata. Now, at one level, remember last time I had talked about these 4 levels. Remember, we can understand the epics at 4 levels. There's a literal level. When we look at the story only, there's an ethical level. Did I speak this thing? 4 things when I talked about Krishna level? Last time when I talked about Janmashtami. There's a literal level, there is an allegorical level. When you look at the symbolism of things. And then there is the devotional level. So, at an ethical level, there is war going on. But at devotional level, there is simply a loving reciprocation going on. And the war and the fight in the war is actually a subordinate reality. The affection between them is what is the bigger reality. So it's like, say, Arjuna is here, Krishna is here, Bhishma is here. So now there is a bond between Krishna and Arjuna. There is a bond between Krishna and Arjuna. Now there is a bond between Krishna and Bhishma. I don't know how I draw this now. And there is a bond between Arjuna and Bhishma. So we have Arjuna, Krishna, and Bhishma. So now what happened was the bond between Arjuna was so strong. When Bhishma was fighting against Arjuna, he was not fighting against Arjuna. He was fighting out of devotion to get Krishna to do something. And so in one sense what happened is the Arjuna Bhishma fight, what was going on. So Arjuna attacking Bhishma, that was weak. Bhishma attacking Arjuna was strong. Because this was at an ethical level. Ethical level, he said, I know I have to do this right thing to do, but I just don't feel like doing it. He was attacking, it was strong because it was at a devotional level. He says, let us see how Krishna will protect Arjuna. So he had full confidence that my plan is going to fail. That means I will not be able to kill Arjuna. But he was so eager for that. And that's why he was fighting wholeheartedly. Now, if we consider Krishna over here, at one level, I'm saying Krishna here because lower because he is a charioteer over here. So Krishna protected Arjuna. So that is this Krishna's love for Arjuna is seen over here. But actually Krishna protected Bhishma also. Because what he did was, the word that Bhishma had given, that also was protected. That he said, I will either kill Arjuna or bring or force Krishna to raise a weapon. So in this way, while there is a lot happening at a higher spiritual level, devotional level, but there are multiple levels at which things are happening. Again, now when Krishna speaks, he does not say that you are killing my devotee Arjuna and therefore I will destroy you. He holds Bhishma responsible. He says, you are the cause of the war. Now, this brings us to the ethical complexity of the whole thing. And I will talk about a couple of things and we will have to continue this tomorrow. But what happens for Bhishma is that, This is a diagram I'll come back to again when we are talking about about Karna also. See, there is virtue. Virtue means there is dharma. And there is devotion, which is bhakti. So now we can have four quadrants where somebody has virtue and devotion, somebody has virtue but no devotion, somebody has neither virtue nor devotion, somebody has devotion but does not have virtue, and somebody has both virtue and devotion. So broadly speaking, Karna falls over here. He has virtue but no devotion. Duryodhan has no virtue, no devotion. Now Arjuna has virtue and devotion. Now Bhishma, interestingly, will fall here. Now of course, it doesn't only fall here. Bhishma is actually, it's like not everybody is situated in the same place all the time. Bhishma is a virtuous person. He's so virtuous that later on Krishna will ask Yudhishthir, Dharmaraj to hear from Bhishma. But in this particular situation, so we are talking about on the Kurukshetra war, on the battlefield. What happens is that Bhishma, it's not that he lacks virtue. He has virtue, but sometimes virtue is the dharma, the right thing to do. The problem comes is there may be two different dharmas. And one dharma is that of being a Kshatriya. So in one sense, the same tension that Arjuna faces. Now Arjuna is torn between, on one side is this Kshatriya dharma, and the other is this Kula dharma. Bhagavad dharma comes at the end. That is at the end. Krishna says you resolve it by Sarva Dharma Antartiti Mamekam Sharanam. Kshatriya dharma is for him fight. If I am a warrior, I should fight. Kula dharma is I don't fight. These are my own people. So I should not fight. Now for Bhishma on the other hand, he has the same tension. The Kshatriya dharma is there for him and he has his Kula dharma. Now Krishna tells Arjuna that in one sense the Kshatriya dharma is bigger than the Kula dharma. Of course it is Krishna's plan that through fighting the war be won and dharma be established. Now he has his Kula dharma. Now if you consider, for him the Kshatriya dharma means he should be a protector. He should be a protector of somebody like Draupadi. Now, leave alone that she is a lady of his own family. Any lady who has been dishonored, a warrior is meant to protect her. But his Kula dharma requires loyalty to the king. He has taken a vow that I will always support the ruling king of the Kuru dynasty of Hastinapur. So for Bhishma, he chooses his Kula dharma. Now you can say Arjuna is also part of the Kula. But for him, you could say the Kula dharma is more associated here with his vow. Specifically, who is ruling Hastinapur? So Bhishma, normally he is known for the vow that he took of being a celibate. But actually he took three distinct vows. First he said, I will renounce any claim to kingship. But then he said, Shantanu's father, Satyavati's father, he said that, most of you know that story, isn't it? That Shantanu was the king and he got attracted to Satyavati. Satyavati's father said that if my daughter is going to become the queen, then her son should become the king. Shantanu said, I cannot abandon or reject Bhishma, who has served me so nicely. So, who has been so royal and who is so heroic. So, Devrat, his name was at the time, he said, I will renounce. But then the father said that, okay, you may renounce, but your children will claim the kingdom. So he said, I will not marry. And I will never have any children. And not only that, so first one, I will not claim to be a king. I will not marry or have children. And third is that I will always support and protect the ruling king of Hastinapur. So this was in one sense at that time to assure Shantanu, or Satyavati's father. So it was a great service to his father that he did. But that vow, when he took it, he did not consider that what kind of person might in future rule Hastinapur. And the fact that a deadly king by a very weak king like Dhritarashtra, that is something he did not have anticipated. And when the situation came, he felt torn between what he knew as a Kshatriya, the Pandavas are right, but he felt that I have taken this vow. So, in one sense, what he did was not exactly adharmic. It was not although out of humility. In the Mahabharata, he says that I have been bought by money, and that's why I'm fighting on the side of the Kauravas. But that was hardly the reason. He was actually felt bound by the vow that he had, and that is expressed at other times. So now, in this case, when I say that he lacks virtue, it is not so much a dharma as it is the wrong dharma. He chooses among the two dharmas, he ends up choosing the wrong dharma. The wrong dharma is sticking to the Pandavas, sticking to Duryodhana even when he was doing something wrong. So Krishna, when he's telling, you should have stopped Dhritarashtra. So what his meaning was that like Vidura left Dhritarashtra. Bhishma could have left Dhritarashtra. If you go look back at Vibhishan not only left Ravan, but came to the side of the Pandavas. So came to the side of Ravan. So Bhishma did not do any of these things. So what happened to him was he felt bound by the vow that he had taken. And because of that vow, that became the supreme reality for him. See, we all have to make decisions in life, and there are various factors that we need to consider while making decisions. But we all have some factor which may be the most important. So if this class goes over time, now you may decide, should I sit and hear the class? Or I have to go to office and I have an early meeting, an important meeting, I have to go for that meeting. Or maybe that meeting can be postponed, this, that. Whenever we take a decision, we have multiple factors to consider. And for all of us, some factors may be more important than others. So now, for some people, it might be that, okay, my family is the most important thing, my country is the most important thing, my job is my most important thing. Now, it's not that they don't care for other things, but that is the most important thing for them. So for Bhishma, his vow became the most important thing. And because of that, sometimes he took decisions which were wrong. And when he took the decisions wrong, the result was, because he was an influential person, the wrong decisions had catastrophic effects. The effects were severe. Now, from a devotional perspective, whatever he did was as per was what was done with the right heart. His heart never swayed from devotion to Krishna. That's why I mentioned on the fourth day, he spoke Krishna's glories. He tried to make Duryodhana see sense, but Duryodhana never saw sense. So at the end, if you see what happened, I'll just quickly move forward and I'll try to wind this class today, but we'll continue it, some things tomorrow. See, one is that if we consider Dharma and Bhakti, relationship or dynamic, you could say. So, one extreme is neglect Bhakti because of lack of Dharma. And then neglect lack of Dharma because of Bhakti. That means somebody is doing something terribly wrong. Oh, but this person is a devotee. Just don't look at it. The other is, oh, what kind of devotee is such a person if this person does something like this? So we could have both these extremes. So in the life, in world when we function, in many ways, now Krishna, he does a balance of both of these things. with respect to Bhishma, publicly, at a public level, what does he do? Publicly, he is punished. He is wounded. He is killed. He is attacked. That means Krishna tells Arjuna, you have to fight against it. And we'll see tomorrow what happens. Move forward. Publicly, he is attacked and he is brought down. And Krishna goes to great extremes to bring him down. But in one sense, privately, it's not entirely privately. Privately, he is honored. That means after the war is over, Krishna goes to Bhishma. And he says that, Yudhishthir, you hear from Bhishma. So, the idea over here is that actions in this world have consequences. And in one sense, we could say that Krishna does not neglect Bhishma's bhakti because he fought against Krishna. No. He says, you are still my devotee, and Krishna gives Bhishma an ideal departure at the end. At the same time, in the world, Bhishma had chosen the side of Adharma. And Krishna says, therefore, you have to be punished. So, in one sense, if we are here in this world, Dharma is what enables us to function in the world. And Bhakti is what enables us to connect with Krishna. So, ideally speaking, Dharma and Bhakti should both go together. So, now can Bhakti help us to do Dharma better? Of course it can. But the point of Dharma is harmoniously belonging to the world. So if you are driving on the road, then Dharma is to follow the traffic rules. I was in Canada and one devotee was driving me, going way above the speed limit. And I said, oh, we are going too fast. He said, no, don't worry. You are Krishna's devotee. Krishna will protect you. I said, don't know, when you drive above the speed limit, Krishna leaves the car. So, we still have to follow the traffic rules. So, there is Dharma and there is Bhakti. Suppose somebody has diabetes and they get some Mahaprasad, that to go to Tirupati Balaji. This is Mahaprasad, I have to take it. How can I disorder it? Yeah, you can take it. It will purify you spiritually, but it can devastate you physically, isn't it? So, we have to consider the material situation also, and we have to consider spiritual also. So, sometimes what happens is there is a tension between them. And at that time, things need to be very carefully addressed. So, Krishna, he balanced both as a That's why publicly what he did was, here we see him chastising Bhishma. And we'll see tomorrow how he brings Bhishma down. But that does not mean that Krishna overlooked the devotion. Krishna remembered very much the devotion and he appreciated the devotion and he rewarded the devotion generously. Bhishma's departure is considered to be the ideal departure. The overall tension here is between Bhishma choosing adharma, not because he consciously chose adharma, but his fixation on one particular aspect of dharma, that is honoring his vow, led him to do something, led him to choose the wrong side. Now we can go at a completely higher level and say that Krishna wanted Bhishma to fight on the opposite side, and thereby he could demonstrate that even a warrior as great as Bhishma, if he fights on the side opposite to Krishna, he will be defeated. And that's true. That's more from a devotional perspective. From an ethical perspective, Bhishma had his own reasoning why he did it, at least as it's told in the Mahabharat. And that was a miscalculation. Now Bhishma still had the hope. See, when Bhishma, like I said, the 4th day, he spoke strongly about Krishna's glories. And we'll see on the 10th day when he falls, at that time also he makes a request to the let the war, with my end, let the war end. So, in one sense, Bhishma had some hope that Duryodhana will see some sense. It was not just that he was blindly, my vow and nothing else matters. He thought that by my sticking to my vow, by being married with Duryodhana, I will be able to bring him on the right track. But that just didn't happen. So we will see how things turn out in the next session. Let me quickly summarize what we discussed today. We discussed three main points. The first was what our approach to the Mahabharat. We are going to focus more on the controversies within the Mahabharat. But we are also going to discuss some life lessons and the Bhakti Rasa also. Now the controversies themselves can come from three. They can come from the current cultural differences. They can come from the concoction that has been done by different people throughout history. And they can come from complexity of the situation. So today's issue, Bhishma's actions come from, controversy comes from where? Mostly it is the complexity of the situation. So then we talk about Bhishma, and within that we talk about how Bhishma's vigor to fight that came not because of anger toward Arjuna or even Duryodhana. He fought against Duryodhana, he fought against Arjuna, he fought against Arjuna, but that was not the reason for his vigor. His vigor was anticipation to see Krishna's love in action. To see how Krishna will protect his devotees. And it was that gave him vigor to fight. And then lastly, we discussed about how Bhishma, for him, the tension was between two dharmas. Bhishma chose his vow over the protecting the weak, protecting the needy, you could say, protecting Draupadi or protecting whoever. He chose that. And that was not a dharma in simply being religious, but that was a wrong choice of dharma. And then we discussed about these four quadrants. What dharma and bhakti. So dharma and bhakti both is Arjuna. Dharma without bhakti is Karna. Now we'll see also how Karna was here, but Karna also went to adharma. Duryodhana was dharma without bhakti, so Karna actually went here and he stayed over here. Now Bhishma was here, he went here and then again he came back here. So we'll see that he circumstantially chose adharma, but finally what did Krishna do? Krishna is neglect adharma for bhakti or neglect bhakti for adharma. That is, what kind of devotee are you because you did such a thing? Krishna did both actually. He found a balance of both in his dealing with Krishna's Bhishma dealing. So we'll discuss this more in tomorrow's session. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
I wish there was a time for a question, but I'll just leave the question there. Dharma and Bhakti. And at one time, Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja. So, does he even care for Dharma in a way? We'll discuss this tomorrow. Maybe definitely will come as part of that. So, let us thank his grace, Chaitanya Charan, Prabhu, three loud and enthusiastic people. So, Prabhu, your whole schedule thing,
Schedule?
So, really we are fortunate. How many of you feel like that? Haribol! This can't get better than this. Mercy of Srila Prabhupada is coming physically, clearly in front of all of us. And Prabhuji is here not just for these sessions. We have scheduled many other sessions. As you can see, I'll send you the link of this. If somebody already has, you can leave it in the group. Just so you know, so there is a morning. So you can see the class here, Mahabharat it goes. And there is also some congregation programs in between. There are also some corporate programs in between. In the afternoon, you can see the green color is all corporate programs, like that is by Neil Prabhu, and Vodafone, and Salesforce, and Aztec Technologies, and Wipro, Wells Fargo. And there is Telapur Neo Center, they are organizing some corporate outreach. And Dasraj Prabhu, so there is a congregation. The Infosys is still a little dicey up and down. Then Raju Prabhu did the Canada Design Systems and Microsoft finally. So they are close to around, if I totally count, around 12 plus corporate programs, 6 plus Mahabharat series, 8 plus congregation programs, and totally I think close to 30 programs Prabhuji is doing in the next 11 to 12 days that Prabhuji is here. So take maximum association as much as you can, right? I mean, there is Wi-Fi here, as you all know, or if you have 4G. If the lecture gets too interesting, you can apply leave right here itself. You know? If more than 50% applies leave, probably continue, Mahabharat, right? You get really ecstatic and you don't want to miss any of this, you can also send a resignation. Right? And you can always take it back. You know how to take back the resignation. I've done it many times. And it works. Anyway, so the point is, don't take the sessions easily. Please come physically, right? Don't go with that online thing, right? Online you can reach, but you can't teach. It's a difficult thing. You get a different experience when you come here. Probably look at all of us. I'm not speculating. I heard this from a very senior devotee. Krishna is within you, he looks through you, to whom you're preaching, and according to the need of that person, the statement comes out. I have learned some things today. I had to hear them, so I feel that I have to be here to hear them. Otherwise, how would I get it? So please come here. I know it's austerity. 8 o'clock is too early, especially with morning course, and we all have to finish our rounds chanting a whole day, we're chanting different things. But those 18 days are coming here in these 6 days, right? Because Krishna also knows that the same war, if it has to happen here, it has to be quick. Because we don't have much time. 5,000 years of life has come down to 1,000 years to 100 years now. So war also, 6 days, enough is enough. So actually Prabhuji asked for more than 6 days. I think 8 sessions something you told, but he's linking it within the 6 days. So don't miss either of these days, right? And if you all are okay, we can start the class a little early. I don't want to put another bomb on you, but at least be on time at 7:45. So we start at 8, so that we can have a good. And we have Gita Pasi. Can someone bring one book from there? So there is this book here right now, right? So you all can buy one copy for yourself because they're like hotcakes. They'll be gone in no time. We are close to 60 of us here. Its price is 500 rupees on the book. But Prabhuji is merciful to give it at 550. No, 450. So if you want Prabhuji's mercy, you can pay 550 or discount whatever way you want. It all goes for teaching purposes ultimately. With the scanner code, Anup Prabhu is Prabhuji's personal assistant right now, and you have these books, and they'll be gone in no time. So the maximum people will take it today. We will get to know how much to reorder. You know what I'm saying? So as much as you can take, come to Prabhuji and don't expect your name to be written with signature. Just take the signature and go if you want. Because everybody has to go to office, right? If somebody has to go to office and is behind in the line and somebody is taking his name and having Haribol to Prabhuji, he doesn't have to resign. He'll be sent back here anyways. So be very quick, take your signatures if you have to, so that we need to know how much stock. Yeah, good.
Just a couple of points. This cover picture. So I would like to thank our Lakshmikant over here. This picture here will be this background. So let us come at the cover picture again. Secondly, I met Gaurapal Prabhu. I told him, this cover, it's like from Gaurapal Prabhu's preaching onwards, somehow things have changed. Monks have become very cool now. There are several devotees who are publishing books. They are the mainstream publishers, this published by HarperCollins. They are insisting on having a picture of the monk on the front page. Medicine Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's books, you see Gauranga Prabhu's books, Gaurapal Prabhu's books. So the culture is changing. So basically, this is the Gita presented as a conversation between two people. And the idea is that I also have some diagrams and images like hand-drawn things. So many people may not want to read the Gita if they're in the corporate world directly. But that same message has been made more accessible in the form of a contemporary conversation between two corporate leaders. and then especially focusing on those themes which are very relevant for a corporate audience. And if you not just want it yourself, but you can use this to share with your colleagues to introduce them to the wisdom of the Gita. There's one devotee who gave it to his, he was there, gave it to his company boss. Yeah, he gave it to one of his company bosses and he has published a whole review of that on his blog. Like that book. So it seems that I was in Gurgaon also, a lot of people are, nowadays there's an openness to the Gita because of the Ram temple and everything else. But still, the Gita seems to be incomprehensible to many people. So this is one way to tap that interest and provide some accessibility for people to understand the wisdom of the Gita. And then thereby come to Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is and come to Krishna more clearly. Thank you very much.
Is the reason this piece tilted? Is there a reason on this text?
That is stylistic.
Okay, just a second. Hare Krishna. So, take it, yeah. Tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, everybody take your copy right away, get a signature, have Prashad, tag Prashad, again. Hare Krishna. As I said, just signature, no conversation. Please, quickly.
Hare Krishna. So please join tomorrow. This series will continue. Thank you for joining. Hari Bol.